So the big question is this: how are those in the self-storage industry like us going to be successful in today's market? That's the question, and this show will give you the answers. My name is Jim Ross, and welcome to the Self-Storage Show. Hi everyone, this is Jim Ross from the Self-Storage Show. In today's Storage Spotlight, I got Stacie Maxwell from Universal. How you doing, Stacie?
I am doing well, Jim. Thank you.
Good. So what your official title is what? Vice President of Marketing and Training at Universal Storage Group. Is that right?
That's correct.
Cool. How did you, let's just kind of start off from the beginning. How'd you even get into storage? How long have you been around?
Oh my goodness. I am entering into my 19th year in the industry.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's been a while. I've seen some ups and downs. It's been pretty fun. I actually started as a manager at a self-storage facility. I actually lived on property. I was the old school resident manager. I did that for about 3 years, and then Ann Ballard, of course, my mentor with Universal, the Hat Lady, in her infinite wisdom, she saw that I was valuable and had some really good ideas, and she brought me up to the corporate office, and I kind of carved out a marketing department with the company. Prior to that, Anne really had been a one-person marketing show for Universal, and so
Yeah.
she brought me up and kind of carved out a whole department, and now I have, a marketing and training department that has about 8 people in it, not including myself or Anne. So doing pretty well. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I love the stories of, I'm the same way. Started as a storage manager and work your
Yeah.
way up, I love it.
Right. Yeah.
Because you have a whole different perspective when you have that experience.
You do. You really do. And we make it a practice too with our company. Each of us will go out and visit the stores, and while we're there, we try to visit several times a year to different stores. And while we're there, if a phone rings, we answer. If a customer comes in, we lease to them. We show units, we clean. Whatever we need to do, we try to keep it very real.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah,
Practice what you preach.
that's right.
Well, anyway, I reached out to you because I know you recently did a presentation about income boosting sales techniques for storage managers, and that
Yeah.
caught my eye because that's the bottom line. Everyone wants to make a little extra money, and if there's ways of from their perspective on how that can be done, that's would be fantastic. So anyway, kind of
Sure.
take it away, and I'll chime in.
Okay. Well, this was a fun session because it covered a wide range of things, different selling techniques. Because selling, a lot of people like to say selling really isn't easy. It's not easy to sell. Well, wait, yes, it is. It really is easy to do. You just got to remember a few key things. So I've got it kind of broken down into a few sections. First, we like to use Q&A questions to give them what they need and help them identify what they need, because sometimes they don't even know what that is. But you can use these key questions to get in there and figure out what they need. Then you also have to keep in mind there's several questions, 5 questions that every customer asks. And this is not just in self-storage. This is every customer throughout the entire world. Before anyone makes a purchase decision, you are mentally going through these questions. And then also like to train my folks how to use their sales skills in terms of voice and inflection, as well as body language. Not only displaying body language, but reading the customer's body language to help close that deal. And then the last thing I'm going to tell everybody is how to never give them the chance to say no, which is really important in sales. So real quick, the Q&A, the first part of it, we like to train all of our folks that it all starts with just asking the right questions. When you ask questions of your customer, it proves that you are interested. You're focused on that customer. You want to help them sincerely, and it also shows that you're laser focused on that and you have professionalism. So we like to call them the 5 magic questions, and if you get these 5 questions answered, you'll know exactly how to serve this customer. So
Okay.
the five questions are: have you ever rented storage before? And we find in our portfolio we have about 65 stores, an amazing 25%, only 25% of all storage customers have never rented before. So that's a different kind of sales technique that you want to use. You want to be a little more educational with those particular people. Other people who've rented storage before, then you can just say, well, here's why we're different, or here's why we're better, and launch into that kind of conversation. And also, if they've never rented, or if they have, they may need boxes, or they may need a moving company reference, or a truck rental, things like that. So it's a really good thing to start with. Have you ever rented before?
Mm-hmm.
Then the next thing is, what are you storing? This actually helps you identify what type of unit they're going to need and how large it's going to be. Whether they need climate or non-climate, and or if they just need a place to park their RV. That's a real important question.
That's always a pet peeve of mine because, I'll always call and do secret shopper calls.
Yeah.
And you know as well as I do that 99% of the managers say, what size do you need? It's like, rather than saying, what are you storing, so I can get a size for you, That's just
Right. Yeah, because they don't
drives
know.
me
They're going to
crazy.
say, oh, 10 by 10. Everybody
Yep.
just falls to the 10 by 10, and then
Yep.
they show up with a 40-foot moving truck, and they're looking at you like, well, why is it not going to fit? You have to take charge and find out what they're storing, and then recommend the size. It makes a big difference.
You got it.
Yeah. So then the third question is, when do you need to get moved in? This lets them know, this lets you know, like, if they need to move in today, then you can look and see what you got on the lot available today. Or if it's going to be a month from now and maybe they need one of those large units that rarely comes available, you can kind of be on the lookout for them, put them on a waiting list, or reserve that for them so that it doesn't get snatched up in the meantime before they come to move in. That's really important. Sometimes you can, especially towards the end of the month, we like to let people go, if they say, like, say I walked into a store today. It's Wednesday the 28th, and I don't need to be out of my apartment until, Saturday or Sunday, because I'm moving out on the 1st and the 2nd per my lease, and that's fine. So I'm thinking to myself, I don't need my storage unit till Saturday or Sunday. But a seasoned manager, someone who's really good at closing sales, can say, hey, you know what, why don't I go ahead and move you in today? I'll waive the pro rate for the last few days of this month, so you're just going to pay fresh for December and not worry about those last few days. Kind of give them a little extra incentive to go ahead and sign the lease today. And that actually makes it a much more leisurely process for them when they show up with their moving company and their truck and everything to go put in the storage unit. You've already walked through everything with them. So it's a much smoother process for them, and they didn't have to pay any extra to have that peace of mind of those days to know that they're set, So that's a nice service to give as well.
Yep. No surprises. It's already a pain in
No
the butt trying to move in the first place, so the more easy you can make it, the better.
Right, and it also helps you avoid one of my biggest pet peeves is not removing the vacant lock before the people come to move in.
Uh-huh.
And if that's on a Sunday when you're closed, that's bad. So we like to stay away from that. Go ahead and do it then while you have them in front of you.
Yep.
Then let's see. The fourth question is, how long do you think you're going to need storage? This one is super important. Most people think they're going to need it for just a month or 2 months or 3 months. But if you're in a price war with your competitor down the street, this question allows you to limit your discounts because you don't want to give away the farm permanently. So maybe you could say, well, Mr. Smith, you said you're going to need the storage unit for 3 months. How about I meet the competitor's price for 3 months? And then if you stay longer than that, it'll just go to our regular rate. But you already said you're only going to need it 3 months, so that should cover you, right? And let's get you moved in today. So being able to limit discounts based on the time that they need it as opposed to a monetary amount is a nice tool to have in your toolbox there.
Yeah, and it's actually, again, you're kind of customizing, at least from the customer's perspective. Hey, they're looking out for me. They're kind of customizing a discount for me. So that's totally a great perception tool.
Yes, exactly. It's part of that experience of being served by the customer. So, yep. And then the last question. This one gets a little touchy for people to ask, but we like to ask, how much would you guess your stuff is worth? And this has come of importance because when you're renting a storage unit, and with all of our rental agreements with our company, it's a material condition of the agreement that they have some sort of insurance coverage. Now, whether they purchase that insurance coverage as a pay-with-rent insurance that we offer with the lease, or whether they have homeowners that has a declaration that covers the off-site storage, or whether they sign to be self-insured, one of those three options has to apply. But if you can ask your people as they're moving in, how much do you guess it's worth, then you can actually quote the correct amount of insurance to give them and not give them, the very minimum coverage just so that they are covered. You want to provide that extra service of saying, well, you said it's worth about $10,000, so let's go ahead and get you the $10,000 policy, and then it becomes an assumptive close to upsell to that higher policy amount as well.
Yep. And,
So,
and again, with all these, this Q&A, again, this
yeah.
is part of the sales presentation, and it's one of those things where whether the customer realizes it or not, you're gaining rapport with the customer. You're on their side. You're not just sitting there spitting out, this is the price, this is the size, and that's
Right.
it. No,
Exactly.
it's a conversation.
That's exactly right. And we're using these questions to find out how best we can serve their need, and make sure that we get them fully taken care of and not just slap them in a unit for $75 a month. That's the bare minimum. We want to actually provide a valuable service to them, and a good user experience as well. Something that even after they've rented and moved out, their house is ready or they've moved to the apartment or whatever it is, we want them to send people back to us as well, or come back themselves the next time they need storage. So it's really important to make sure you take care of them as they come, and take care of them 100%, not
Yep.
just the 10% that that you do by quoting a price.
I'll attest, if nothing else from what we're talking about here, just start implementing some of these questions into their sales presentation on the phone. You're going to stand out from 99% of your competition.
Agreed.
As simple
Yeah.
as that is, you will.
Yeah, you will. You
Yep.
absolutely will, and it will help you. It really will help you close more deals because you're paying attention, and the customer perceives that. And see, also in this current climate of people, reviews have become a lot more important. The art of customer service is being lost in a lot of ways because things are going digital, and people are even at the grocery store or Walmart or wherever, people are doing their own checkouts now, the self-serve checkouts, and
Yep.
so there's no real customer service. We're serving ourselves. So when you can be a shining example of real customer service, old-fashioned let me take care of you service, that really stands out, especially against your competitors who are just turning a key and quoting a price. So it's a great tactic.
Oh, definitely. So that kind of takes care of easy sales techniques of converting into more rentals. So what else? What
Yeah.
else you got on your list? What's next?
Well, so we talked about the 5 questions that we ask the customer, but let's talk about the 5 questions that every customer, anywhere, anytime, anybody who's making a purchase is actually thinking in their head. Because if you can answer these questions, especially if you can answer them in order without actually phrasing the question, just be ready to supply that information as part of your conversation. If you can get these questions answered with a yes on each of them, then there's an extremely strong chance, like 90% chance, that you're going to be able to close that deal. And if you can't answer these questions, then your chance of closing the deal reduces with each question that's missed. So let me tell you what any consumer is thinking about every single time you make a purchase, whether it's me and you going to the store and buying a TV, or whether we're renting a storage unit or buying a car, or whatever it is, opening a bank account, anything. These are the questions that every customer asks. So the first one is, do I want to do business with this person? So within 2 seconds after you meet a customer, they are already decided whether or not they want to lease a unit from you. Because in self-storage, in order for someone to rent with you, they have to have a level of comfort and trust, because they're potentially bringing their worldly belongings to you. And if they don't feel comfortable with who you are as a person, they're probably not going to rent there. So that first impression that you present, to the people, nice smile, a warm handshake, standing up and greeting those people and making them feel comfortable, that's super important, and that'll answer that first question, do I want to do business with this person, with a big yes. Second question that they ask is, do I want to do business with the facility or the brand that this person represents? So there's 2 possible scenarios to answer this question. First scenario is the people are not yet familiar with your brand. They've never heard of it before. Maybe you're a new brand in town or a brand new facility. So that's actually a good situation to be in because it's up to you to present the brand in a positive light and give them that first great impression of your brand. Now, if they are familiar with your brand, then you've either got a good reputation with them, meaning maybe they've heard about you before and they've only heard positive things, or they were referred by somebody, or they did their research and read your reviews and they're all good, and that's great. So you got a leg up, no worries. That's a yes right there. If you have a bad reputation, then you know you need to start with damage control. So um, you know when somebody comes in your door, you just ask them, have you ever heard of Stacie Self Storage before, or you ever been here before, or is anyone you know? And that will help you identify whether they've heard of you or not, and you can decide which way you want to go as far as framing your reputation for the perception of this customer.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Stacie Self Storage has a good ring to it.
Yeah, I like it. I like it.
Go
One of these
for
days.
it.
One of these days. Yeah. All right. So the next question, the third question that every customer asks is, do I want and need what this person is selling? Do I really need that TV? Do I need to open that bank account? Do I need to buy that car? This one, through your conversation with your customer, you'll be able to discover their needs and the requirements, because there are some, deal breakers. But you want to make sure that their needs match your facility's offerings. And you can actually take your facility's offerings and position them in ways to make it match that customer's need. So, for example, my self-storage facility has a conference room, and this person said that they are a pharmaceutical rep. Well, hey, that's fantastic. Maybe your team can come meet here for free in our conference room. Or maybe they're a realtor, same difference. Or maybe it's just a housewife and she's involved in her local book club, and maybe her book club can come meet in the conference room. Whatever it is, you find out ways to position yourself and make what your full offering is attractive, and make it appear to the customer that they either need or want what you're trying to sell. So the big mistake here, though, is don't be too pushy. Because everybody likes to buy things, but nobody wants to be sold anything. Nobody wants to feel like they've been sold. So being able to kind of answer that question of, yes, you need and want what I'm selling without actually telling them is the trick there.
Well,
That's the key.
the nice thing in our industry is we're not really
Yeah.
pushing something on it they don't want. They called us. So,
Right,
yeah.
exactly. But they have the option to choose your facility or the one
Yes.
next door or the one down the street, or that way. So
Yep.
you want to make sure you're positioning your facility to be the best value for that customer. It may not be the best price, but let me show you all these other benefits and features we have that make us the best value for your dollar. So
exactly.
and then speaking of value, the next question is the consumer is going to ask themselves, well, does the price and the value meet my expectations? So they're analyzing in their brain everything that you have to offer. Is your facility neat? Is it clean? Or are you helpful and friendly and knowledgeable? And can I get in and out easy? Is my big old truck going to fit through the gate? All these things. Does it fit what I need? And I'm willing to pay the price that you've given me for it. So thinking about the price and value is the next one. Then the last question every consumer asks is right now the right time to buy? Now, some people are in a trauma situation where they've somebody has passed away maybe, and they have to store today, or they have been pushed out of their apartment, they have to store today, or they're moving, whatever it is. Most probably 90% of all storage customers have some sort of trauma, whether it's very high level of trauma or just a minor issue that they've got to get through. But that's what's brought them to storage to begin with. So most of the time, this question is, yes, it's the right time to buy. I need to store my stuff today or within the next week. Some people are really good about doing their research before they move, and they plan things out way in advance. So you may have a customer who is shopping around 3 months in advance of their anticipated move. So those kind of people, you'll have to kind of coerce them and maybe put a reservation on the books and things like that to kind of make sure you close that sale.
Yeah, and again, so many times it could be as simple as asking, asking for that reservation. I call all these different sites for secret shoppers, and I'm left hanging. We'll do the phone call, and it's just like, well, do you got anything else for me? It's just like just dead air. It's like, no, close that loop and actually ask for the sale, ask for the rental, ask
Right.
for the reservation. It's not that difficult. Just they're
Right.
waiting for
Just
it.
simply ask them.
Yep.
Right. Exactly. So, and then also when you're thinking about these questions that the consumer's asking on the inside, in their brain, you want to be really careful. You don't want to answer these questions in the wrong order because they might shut down. For example, if you open a conversation, somebody walks in your door, open a conversation with a new customer and say, well, we've got these on special, but it's a limited time offer. Well, this customer hasn't even decided if they want to store with you yet, if it's a good value for the price. None of the questions have been answered, so you can't push them into it. You have to let these questions develop and be answered on their own, develop naturally.
No,
So
it's a flow.
it's a flow. That's correct.
Yep.
I like that. It's a flow.
Take it.
Yeah. Yeah. So speaking of flow, let's talk about that. All right. So one of my most favorite quotes in the world is I love Zig Ziglar. I just think he was an amazing
Zig.
person.
I saw him once,
Yeah,
actually. I saw him live.
you did?
Yep, I did.
That is awesome. I wish I could have done that. But just talk about motivation in a bottle. This man just was amazing. And one of his quotes about selling was, selling is essentially the transference of feeling, which I thought was pretty profound because every purchase you make is an emotional decision on some level, and you're going to feel that you need this, or you feel that that's the right thing to do at that time. So one of the ways that you can transfer that feeling is through your voice inflection. So I like to tell my people, it's not just what you say, it's actually how you say it. So we do a lot of practices on our voice and how to say things to our customers when they come in the door. One of the things, I've got a few tips that we run through. The first one is we like to listen to ourselves. Just like you said, you and I were talking earlier about listening to yourself, playing back yourself on audio and listening. Are you speaking too fast? Are you speaking too slow? Do you sound weird? I mean, everybody's going to sound weird, so you have to wait till you're over how weird you sound and then listen to yourself and figure out if there are certain parts of your message, part of your sales pitch that you can emphasize or draw back on to drive a better message to the people. So I think that's a really good tool. Another thing you can do is just smile. You can actually hear the difference in people's voices when they just smile. But it actually has more to do with physiology than psychology. They say, the Shaolin monks have always said, act as if, and that means, whatever you want to be, act as if it already is, and eventually it will become. So the key is to smile, and you will become happy. You will become someone who's worthy of smiling, or who wants to smile. But more than that, when you smile, you're opening your mouth wider and you have more teeth showing, but you actually have a better tone of voice. The sound of your voice it's more friendly, it's warmer, it's more receptive to who you're speaking with. So I think that's pretty important. So always smile when you're talking.
Yep.
Yeah. Let's see. The next thing I always tell our people is change the emphasis of your words.
Sure.
You can actually stress certain words over others, and it will literally change the entire sentence. Okay? Excuse me. So, for example, I like to use this one as my favorite example. The following sentence is, what would you like us to do about it? Well, you can say, what would you like us to do about it? That makes you sound defensive. Like, what would you like us to do about it?
Yep.
It sounds, not very nice. But if you emphasize the words like us, it makes you sound like you're curious. How can I help you? What would you like us to do about it? Same sentence, but it sounds completely different.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have no emphasis at all, you sound apathetic or like a robot, and nobody wants that either. So thinking about the emphasis of your words is really important. Then you and I talked about this earlier too, Jim. Breathing is so important. Inflection in your voice can be affected by your breathing. The shallower your breathing will be if you're stressed, or if you're in a hurry, or a little bit anxious. Your vocal cords are going to tighten up, your voice is going to go up in pitch, and you're going to sound stressed out. So the key is just slow down, take some deep breaths, and then everything will level out, and you'll sound calmer, much cooler, much more collected, and you'll sound like the storage professional that you are. So this is especially important when you're on the phone with people trying to do a sales call, because
Yep.
that's all they hear is your voice. So slow down and breathe. It's really important. Um, but yeah,
And
I tell my people all the time just to think of their voice as a tool, and with that tool, the inflection of the voice is the skill that they can use with that tool, and you can fine tune that skill into an instrument that you can use to increase your sales effectiveness.
oh, totally. And one simple, another little hack that I've found that helps, managers and myself, I'm talking to owners and things like that, of just being able to convey a little more energy in your voice is
Yeah.
simply standing up. Just
Oh
that,
yeah.
just that simple movement, just standing up while you're talking, will just help everything else flow together. As far as help with your inflection, help with your energy, just it carries over across on the other end of the phone. It totally does.
Oh, I can see that absolutely. It will help you breathe too, because it'll open
Yep.
up your lungs. Oh
Yep.
yes, that's a fantastic tip. Thank you for that.
There you go.
Yeah,
We
yeah. So I think it's important though that people understand it's not just your voice though. It's because our voice as important it is, especially over the phone. It's extremely important. But in person, it's not really about your voice anymore. It's about your body language.
Yep.
90% of what you're trying to communicate does not come out of your mouth. It comes off of what you do, your overall impression. So it's pretty important to read and display that body language, like I was talking about. You can focus on what you as a person can do and not do to communicate positively to every customer, and you can also watch for certain behaviors in your customers to help understand where they are in their mental, in their logical steps in their brain to know whether they're thinking positively or negatively towards what you're saying, which is pretty neat, actually. So I can, are we good on time?
No, we're good on time.
Okay,
This
good.
this is too valuable to cut you off, so nope, keep it going.
Yay! Okay, all right, great. All right, so I can run through some do's and don'ts of body language. So of things that you can particularly manage as a person, as a salesperson yourself. So I always tell my managers, stop playing with yourself. And then they look at me. Of course, they get the big wide-eyed shock. But what I mean is, don't fidget, don't touch your face, don't rub your eyes or your lips or your nose or anything like that. It makes you appear anxious or like you're nervous or you're self-conscious about yourself. I also tell them hands off. Don't clasp your hands together. Don't hug yourself. Don't clench your arms or fold your arms, because that makes you appear aggressive or nervous again, or distraught even, depending on how you're holding your arms.
Mm-hmm.
But then I remind them, okay, I told you not to do those things, but also don't be a statue. You've got to be fluid. Actually, being immobile or staying like a statue is worse than fidgeting. So just relax and move naturally. That's the most important thing, I think. But some things you can do, those are the don'ts. But the do things that I tell my managers to do, definitely open up. And by that I mean don't close yourself off with your arms. Don't cross your arms. Don't cross your legs if you can avoid it. Make sure your stance is nice and open. You want to smile and nod at people, and that cracks me up because I'm a huge animated movie fan, and the movie Madagascar with the penguins, and the penguins always say smile and wave, smile and wave.
Mm-hmm.
So I tell my managers smile and nod. I think it's funny, but what it shows to the customer, it displays to them, is that you're listening and that you have empathy. When you nod along while they're talking and telling you their story, they feel that you have empathy for their situation, and they're going to feel like you care and you're concerned and you want to get them taken care of. Along with that, you want to make sure you have eye contact with your customer. Don't be afraid to look them in the eye and show that you're interested and alert and paying attention to what they're saying. And again, gesturing naturally, it shows that you're cool and confident and leaning in. Sheryl Sandberg made that phrase pretty popular, lean in. But it actually works. When you have a customer across the desk from you and they're telling you their whole story, lean in and pay attention to them. It'll show confidence in yourself, as well as engagement and interest in what they've got going on in their world. And that makes a huge difference to a customer who's in the middle of this trauma and needs to figure out what to do with their worldly possessions. So I also tell my managers to walk around your showroom, walk around the property. Don't be afraid to walk through the entire thing because your property better be neat as a pin anyway. Your showroom better be well stocked and everything should be well maintained. So there should not be a reason that you don't want to walk through your property. So walking through your property with your customer actually shows confidence in your product. It shows that you're not afraid to hide. You're not trying to hide anything. You're not afraid to show them everything. So that's always a good thing, walking around. And like you said, standing up helps your energy. I could see how that would work in that vein as well. I thought that was pretty neat.
Totally, and that leads into, again, rapport again, because you're not just going to be going over all the storage stuff. You start having conversation too, and that's,
Right.
as far as you're walking around. So that's
Yeah.
there's no ifs, ands, or buts when it comes to me. When it comes to that, you don't sit behind a desk. You get up, you talk, you walk around. It just leads to a much more pleasant experience for the customer. Totally.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And over time, especially if they store with you for several months or a year or 2 years, you get to know those people anyway. You're
Yep.
going to see them come in and out. You're going to find out more about their family and find out, this and that. And if you could start off on a good, positive foot with them, they're going to be more likely to refer people to you because they feel confident and comfortable storing their things with you, and they're going to want their other people who might need storage. If one of their friends ends up needing storage, they're going to say, you know what, you really need to go store with Jim. He's a great guy. And that's that. People who are referred to you, they're already sold. You don't have to worry about closing that sale at all because they've already been told to come in, and they trust you inherently because their friend recommended you.
Yep.
So it's important to have that good experience. So those are things that the manager can do. Here's some things that you can watch for in your customer's body language, and I'll tell you what they mean. Excuse me. So when a customer nods, of course, that's kind of obvious. It signifies that they understand and are agreeing with what you're saying. So that's important. If they lean forward, that means that they're ready to buy or on the verge of buying. They're engaged. If they give you tiny little no movements while you're talking about something, like they might, kind of turn their head a little bit or almost kind of shake their head no, but not a real no, or maybe they kind of do their hand sideways, it means that you probably need to clarify a point, whatever it was that you said when they kind of made that movement. They're having some reservation about that. So you may need to back up and define more what you're talking about or explain it a little better. Or they may just disagree. And if they turn their head away, of course, that indicates disinterest. So, you want to make sure you try to keep them focused on you. And if they're turning away, then you have to recraft what you're speaking about to draw their attention back in, which is pretty important. Now, let's talk about the eyes, because eyes are really, really important. Eyes are really, I forget who said it, but the eyes are the window to the soul. But the eyes themselves can really tell you a lot about what a person is thinking, because humans, we have no control over our pupils. So if you pay attention to somebody else's pupils, it's going to give you a lot of clues. When your pupils are dilated, so you see a lot of the black in their pupil, that indicates that they're interested. They're agreeing with you. If you've ever watched any kind of anime cartoons or even the Shrek movies with the Puss in Boots cat, and he takes off his hat and his eyes get real big and the pupils are huge. He's so sweet, he's in love, that kind of thing. That when your pupils dilate, you're actually showing interest in or enamored of whatever it is you're looking at. So if someone's pupils dilate when you're having a sales conversation, then they're interested and they're agreeing with what you're saying. So it's important to watch for. If their eyes suddenly get wide, like in shock or surprise, obviously that's a surprise, that's a wow moment, and you have to decide, okay, did I just freak them out, or are they happy? So, depending on what you've said, you kind of have to gauge that one. And another thing with their eyes, if they're looking at something and the gaze kind of lingers on something before it bounces around to the next thing, then that means that they're showing preference or interest in one choice over another. That's really important. Say you've taken your customer out into the property and you're showing them a 10 by 15 on this side of the hallway and a 10 by 10 on that side of the hallway. Well, when you got them there with the two units, watch them. See which way they look. Whichever one they look at more, that's the one you kind of want to try to push for and get them into, because that's the one that's going to be the easy sale. They're interested in that one.
Yep. Again, paying attention. That's
Pay attention. That's right. That's right. So some things you want to look for that might show bad signs with their
mm-hmm.
eyes. If their pupils constrict down and get small, then that means they're totally in disagreement. They're not agreeing with what you say. They don't like what you've said, and you're really gonna have to backtrack and try to smooth that out. Also, same thing with if their eyes narrow and their eyebrows get low or squish down. That means that they're in conflict with what you're saying, and they're skeptical of what you're saying. So you really want to try to smooth that out as well. And or if they look away completely or avoid eye contact, they're disengaged. They're disinterested. You kind of lost them at that point. So you have to bring them back in, and that's a little harder to do. But just with kindness, kill them with kindness, and maybe offer them a cold bottle of water and a warm cookie or some popcorn, whatever you have on hand. Even giving them a pen or something can help turn that table and allow you to start over again
Mm-hmm.
in the conversation.
Yep. Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, good.
Well, I've got more. I don't know. I mean, are we good on? I've got several more things, but I'm not sure.
We can wrap up in about 5 minutes. So if you got more than 5 minutes, let's go ahead and cram more in. If that's going to be too
sure.
much.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay. So let me look. I've got my notes. All right. So I'm going to tell you real quick how to watch your customers' hands. I call it doing the hand jive.
Yeah.
If their hands are open, maybe even palms up, they're being very receptive. If they pick up and play with a pen, they're ready to sign. So get that paperwork out and just put it in front of them. Now, if they are drumming their fingers or fidgeting, they're frustrated or bored, they're done, ready to be done with the conversation. If their hands are closed or if they're hiding their hands or pulling them away, then they're restrained. Something unsettling has been said, and you may have to back up. Now, if you're sitting at the table with them and they put their hands on the table with their palms down, that indicates that they're trying to control the conversation. So you may want to do a little reverse psychology while you're speaking with them and allow them to feel like whatever conclusion they've come to or whatever sale you're trying to make with them is their idea,
Mm-hmm.
so that they feel like they're in control of that conversation. So I think that's pretty neat. Another thing that humans don't have a whole lot of control on because it's programmed internally to respond faster than the speed of conscious thought is humans' feet, the way we do our legs. We're all programmed with that fight, flight, or freeze. Because a lot of people say fight or flight, but it's actually fight, flight, or freeze.
Yeah.
Because we do freeze down. So if their ankles are crossed and out towards the speaker, towards you across the desk, then that's a good sign. They're receptive to you. But if their legs are in a tight ankle lock kind of off to the side, or if they're pointed at the exit, if the legs are pointed at the exit, then that means they're ready to get up and go and leave. So you can watch for that. Also, when people cross their legs, if the foot on top, when their legs are crossed, is pointed at you, they're interested. But if their foot on top is pointed away, then they're withdrawing from you. So that's kind of neat to pay attention to that as well. And one thing people have, several more tips on the body language, reading body language, but all of us as humans, we're already better at doing this than you really even know. We do it naturally. So some of this may be, you hear me say it and you're kind of like, oh, well, that's a no-brainer. I knew that. Well, of course you did. You're already better at this. Just pay attention and put it to work for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, all right, so let me close real quick with how to never let them say no.
Perfect.
And this is really easy, too. All right, so simple techniques to never hear the word no. Never ask them if or do you. Never say, ask them if they need boxes or if they need rolls of tape or mattress covers or a truck rental or whatever it is. Always ask them how many instead. Because if you say if or do you or that kind of thing, it's actually asking them a yes or no question. So you never want to ask them a yes or no question. Ask them an open-ended question. Asking them how many is actually the easiest way to do that because it forces them to give you a number. Even if the number is 0, that's okay because that's also a valid answer. But say, for example, you're selling them a stack of 10 boxes. you might say to them, well, you've got 10 boxes here, so that means you're probably going to need about 3 rolls of tape. Would you agree that you want to get you those 3 packets, actually a little bit less expensive than buying 3 separate rolls? More than likely, they're going to say, yeah, let's go ahead and get the 3 rolls of tape, because A, you're making a knowledgeable recommendation, but B, you're telling them you're going to need 3 rolls. So it forces them to not say no, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Then the other technique I have is what we call 2x2 selling. So you're going to offer 2 choices. Would you like the 10x10 or the 10x15? Would you like to move in today and I'll waive your prorate, or do you want to wait and we'll sign your lease on Saturday when you get here with the truck? Would you like to buy the bundle of 10 boxes, or would you like to buy the bundle of 20 boxes? Always offer people 2 choices, and that way they can't say no to either one. They pick one of the 2, which also lets you not hear the word no.
No, yeah, that's gold right there. Yep, love it.
Yeah. So, and that's it. And, like you said before, don't forget to close the deal. Ask for the business. This is something that most people amazingly just leave out. They leave the offer, they leave the sale on the table. So, even if it comes down to, Mr. Jones, what will it take for you to become a customer today? What can I do to get you signed today? Or if I could give you a free truck rental credit, would you go ahead and sign in today? If I could waive your prorate, would you sign today? Those kind of things. So the deal is yours, and it's up to you to close it. So just don't forget to just ask for the business. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, it's like, again, sometimes people overcomplicate things. And really, I know we've covered a lot of ground here, but it's the basic, simple fundamentals that you'll stand out from everybody else. You're going to make more money. Just focus on that.
Yeah, just pay attention to the people who are in front of you. We like to say, love the one you're with, and when you're sitting there with a customer and you're talking about, their leasing options and that kind of thing, and your phone rings, don't answer the phone. Just let it go to voicemail, let it go to call center, whatever you've got. Take care of the person in front of you. Now on another situation, on the converse of that, if you're sitting there signing a lease with a customer and another customer just walks in and all they need to do is make a payment, then absolutely turn to the leasing customer and say, let me take his payment real quick. I'm going to be right with you. I want to make sure I get him taken care of and out the door. Turn to the customer, take their payment very quickly, and let them get on out the door. And that's done 2 things. It's served your existing customer in a great manner, and it's shown your new customer who's signing the lease or thinking of signing a lease with you that you care about your existing customers, and you're there to help them get in, do their business, and get on their way. So it shows that you know how to prioritize. So that's important too.
Good deal. Well, man, we've covered a lot of ground in a short period of time.
I can talk a lot.
I know. No, it's great. Well, again, I don't want to cut you off here, but you have a lot more to say. If people have been listening and want more information about you and your services, how do they get a hold of you?
Oh, that's pretty easy. You can call me at Universal. Phone number is 770-801-1888, or you can shoot me an email, and that would be Stacie, Stacie, at universalstoragegroup.com. Either one of those methods to get hold of me. I love email because then I can, track it and answer, on the fly. You may get an answer from me at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, but it'll be there.
You're one of those too, huh? Yeah, I do the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, perfect. Well, thank you for your time. This was great.
Sure. Yeah, I'm honored to do it. I appreciate it.
Again, we'll have to do it again. I know you got a lot more other things we can talk about, so we'll have to do this again. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks a lot. We'll take care.
Thank you.
See ya. Thanks for supporting the show. I want to let you know that we've just opened up our brand new free private Facebook group. There I'll be having some extra special content not found anywhere else. If you really want your facility to be a success in today's market, then this is going to be the place for you. You can request to join us at selfstoragecommunity.com or search for Self Storage Domination Community on Facebook.